My beautiful gemstones, welcome back for another live stream with myself, Ghostdragonzw, and a very special, awesome guest that we have with us today. So here's the deal. Mondays, we're not working for me, even every other Monday, guys. And Tuesdays are great, but it's today. And then for 2 Tuesdays, we cannot do anything because I've got stuff going on, but we'll be back in 3 Tuesdays, and that'll be afternoon talk from there on out. And we'll probably do it every week because, it's easier on a Tuesday to do it every week. Also, my Wi-Fi is still wonky, but Steven sent me an Ethernet cable. So tomorrow for Live Intuitive Oracle, once I plug that into the Wi-Fi box, which I have to bring into my bedroom, which is where my office is, it's going to be crystal clear. And I'm very excited about that. Let me just say hi to you guys real quick, and then I'm going to bring the guys in. Black Dragon, it is so good to see you back. Where have you been, brother? Miss Shelley, Blue Crossroads, chillin', Charlie, coffee and smokables sounds good to me. Miss Paranormal Pixie, what's up, girl? So I'm just waiting. Oh my gosh, I went to Target the other day and they had the cutest little things I'm putting together for your box. I'm just waiting for that one thing I sent to you, and then I'm going to send it out. I can't wait for you to get it. I got such cute stuff. I just kept seeing things and I'm like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of her. Oh my gosh, this reminds me of her. Oh, by the way, guys, one more thing before I bring them in. Hey, Miss Donna Messenger, what's up, mama? Thank you for coming in. Roger Blair, what's up? So I did 2 shorts yesterday. One of them was about blue apatite, the gemstone, and the other was about how you're probably not washing your hair right. And the washing your hair one got 456 views in 7 hours. That's a record for me. So I'm going to be doing more shorts. I'm hoping to do some after this stream. Cynthia Prince, welcome. I almost said Price. Bryson Cloud, new name. Nice to see you. Smoochy. All right, let me bring him in because I know who you're really here to see. What's up, guys?
Definitely not me.
This guy.
What's up, Lotus Girl?
I'm surprised I was out of the basement since I don't know how to act right.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I let him out of the basement for a few minutes. He forgot how to act. And I spelled it like that too. Ack, A-C-K.
Ack. He don't know how to act.
Don't know how to act.
I know how to act. I act all the time.
Yeah, smoochy, hair care, big deal, but don't know why. Yeah, I'm like, everyone asked for gemstones, for crystals. So I was like, okay, I could do that. And then the hair one just blew up. And I'm like, okay, but it had like 21 likes. So guys, you got to up your like game a little bit. Okay. It doesn't help when I get 456 views in 7 hours. Amazing. And then 21 likes. And it's like, I'm doing something wrong.
It happens to me too. I'll have like 2,000 views on a short and it's like 11 likes.
Do you know what though? I'm a hypocrite. I will admit, and here's why. I didn't know YouTube existed for anything other than music for the longest time until like 2018. I had no idea. So I started a playlist of all music I like by liking those videos. So if I like someone's video, it messes up my music playlist. So I don't like people's videos, even if I really, really want to. I don't. So I'm a hypocrite. I get it. But help the algorithm out, guys. What's up, Total? Total is going to be coming on Tuesday when we come back in 3 weeks. Guys, he is a non-believer in extraterrestrials. And I thought he'd be a really good guest because he's not one of those jerk non-believers who doesn't want to hear the information, right? Like he wants to be, informed, and he wants facts and the information about it. And that's the type of person I really like talking to because he's not like, nope, can't tell me nothing, not real. Like the Family Guy episode where they're like, you're as stubborn as a mule. And they're like, Kevin Bacon was in Footloose. And he's like, nope, wasn't in Footloose. And they go back and forth. And never mind.
That's because they watched the new one and didn't watch the original.
Maybe. It was just a Family Guy joke. I my whole life plays in my head as one big Family Guy episode. So Long Island Bigfoot. I did your reading yesterday. So interesting. Some of you guys, I look forward to the readings because I'm like, ooh, what's going on this month? I
There's always, yeah, there's
I
always
guess I'm like
something
a
hanging
voyeur.
behind the
I'm a
curtain, right?
voyeur.
What are you gonna
What
do?
Smoochy, go purple. I got a tiny bit of purple in my, I guess this is a weave. I don't know what else to call it in my weave today, and I'm really enjoying it. So tell us a little, I know you talked about it a lot on your channel, but I work like 20 hours a day and the other 4 are spent taking care of my house and my family. What did you get up to in Montauk? Like, did you end up seeing anything? I know you're with the Cryptid Huntress. I always thought she was a remote viewer. So like I was being dumb about it. And I'm like, well, if she remote views, why is she in the woods? And people are like, maybe she just likes being in the woods. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I don't, guys, I spend 99% of my time alone. Okay. I'm not good with interaction. So did you guys see anything cool or did you, I know animals love you. So
Yeah, it was interesting. So I've been going out there for that was the 3rd year in a row on those, on those dates. And I had made a documentary with a friend of mine. He's from, I think, Massachusetts, Dark Hour Paranormal, and then Brian from Montauk is Strange. He lives on the island too, so we always link up and go out there. This year there was a whole bunch of people out there doing a lot deeper work, a lot of stuff I didn't understand really. I still kind of don't. I'm still kind of just catching up to it, but a lot of different, a lot of interesting stuff. And yeah, I had a Sasquatch sighting. Well, I guess it wasn't an encounter because it didn't do anything, and I didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like I just, I give them their space. I always like when the people are like, "Oh, you just run at it." I'm like, "Yeah, okay," like good, yeah. Like
that's like
get
the worst
within.
possible idea.
I know.
Run at a
Try to
wild
get
Bigfoot.
within. Like try to get within like range of a 20 feet of a 200-pound buck. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna start backpedaling. Like so, forget about 1,000 pounds of muscle, but probably more. But anyway, and then we went to this place called Council Rock. I went there like 3 times because like I'm obsessed with it. It's just huge. I mean, it's giant, crystal. It's this huge giant crystal, and it's like
Is
a
it really?
memorial. Yeah, it's a memorial. It's called Council Rock, and it's like it's a memorial basically like for all the natives, who passed. And I'm gonna try and do like a little mini documentary on it and like put all my footage together from those days. But then we went at night. Cryptid Huntress and then James Rink, he was like, they wanted to go Bigfooting, and I'm like, all right, let's go out. And like I didn't know where to go, like in Montauk, like it's like tourist season. I'm like, I don't really know
Oh
where we
yeah.
can. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know where we could really like go. Like, I don't know if we could go in state parks. Like, I don't want to like leave, like leave the truck, go in the woods, and come back out, and it's like gone. It's because it got towed or something. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I know nobody's gonna be it's like a cemetery. You drive in and nobody knows it's there. So you drive in and it's like a traffic circle and that's it. So like, I knew we wouldn't be too far from it, so we went there and. Well, I couldn't even tell you what we were encountering. I couldn't even tell you, but it was very, very.
I bet you I could tell you if I had been there.
It's very spiritual, not of this world. Like, yeah.
Cool. I mean, I saw some of it, and I've got to get out. Like I said to you, like once getting RJ in school and all that stuff like blows over, you said that you want to come out here because we could go like it's a forest. It's not even like the woods, right? And to me, there's a difference. Forest, when I write and I'm writing about a forest, it's this really, really massive area of woodlands. Now, funny story. I was geocaching one day. I was really bored. I hadn't started YouTube yet. I was very fresh in recovery. And I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. And I can't walk to Patterson. It's 32 highway miles to get there. And I was like, whatever, like, what can I do? And then I was watching this murder mystery where they're like, no, she was geocaching when she got abducted. And I was like, what is geocaching? Like, that's what I took from that, geocaching. And I went on the map.
It caught my attention too. And I started
like
geocaching for a while too. Yeah.
Nope. Sorry guys. My Wi-Fi.
It's all right.
I'm gonna be plugging in the Ethernet. I think we're good now. No, so I was like, there's 1,000 of them behind my house. So I'm like, I'm gonna go do that. But me, like, I'm not the smartest person when it comes to, like, I cannot read a map. I just don't know how. And like, I've never really been in the woods. I was born in Patterson, which is like this big major city. And I was like, oh, I don't have to stick to the trail. I could just walk. And I was walking through, like, you're supposed to stick to the trails for a reason. You don't walk as the crow flies, which is what I was trying to do. I found the first cache very easily. Like, oh, I'll get another one. I got lost and my phone started dying. But long story short, it was gorgeous. There's this little brick hut back there that looks like it used to be a house of some kind, but it's in the middle of the woods and it leads to this giant waterfall. Then there's like this big wide, I guess it would be a creek, but it looks more like a big, very deep river. And across from that is bear caves. I mean, it's just gorgeous, but I would never go back there again by myself. I tried with my 5-year-old like a month ago and we got lost. And I was like, I'm never doing this again, ever.
It's hard. Like, if you don't, like, I learned land navigation in the Army, but that's one of the only ways I find my way out. You know what I mean? Like, when I get lost, it's like, I have to figure out which way is, like, you know, which direction, north, south, east, west, whatever. And then like land nav, basic land nav is like, it sounds so silly, but it's the only way to continue in the direction is you pick something in your eyesight, you know what I mean? And you go to it. And then you stop there and then you find something else in that direction and you go to it. Like, do not look around, don't do anything else. Like, don't try to get fancy and be like, oh, I think this. No, just stick with the plan until you get where you're going. And but I get turned around. Yeah, I get turned around all the time.
I asked some guy who was jogging and I was like in tears. I'm like, I am lost and I'm just trying to get to, and I said the name of my street because even though it's very isolated, it is a main thoroughfare around here. Like, everyone knows this street. And he's like, oh, easy, that's that way. So I'm like, oh, I was going the wrong way. Great. I go that way and I end up at the reservoir and I have no idea. So then I asked this old couple and they're like, yeah, just keep going that way. And I'm like, so I checked the map and turns out I was going the right way to begin with and had to walk I was out there for 8 hours and I had only planned on being gone for like 2 hours. But I think you and I would do really well back there. There is so much back there.
Yeah, I can feel it. Like I'm like, it's like calling to me. Like I'm just waiting on you, but I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
I know there's Bigfoot back there. I know there's Glimmerman or at least one, because I saw the Glimmerman back there. That's what the Glimmerman video was about. It happened right next to my house. And then I accidentally channeled Sasquatch over there. And when I was walking with RJ or with my son about a month ago, I one direction and then I kept seeing it looked like a Glimmerman, like, but it was just something that was cloaked, and the way that it looked was in the shape of like a Bigfoot. So it looked to me like a cloaked Sasquatch, right? And then on it before, and even my son was like, Mommy, where do those signs come from? And there were warning signs to stay away from that particular area, but neither one of us saw them when we were walking past earlier in the day. And we both did look over there because we both saw something gigantic moving around, but it was cloaked. It just looked a little sparkly and there was nothing else to it. And if you didn't know what to look for, you never would have even seen it, but I have experience because I'm always seeing things.
Yeah. You don't look for the norm. Yeah. Like right. Like, you're so used to seeing things outside of the norm that you pay attention to what most people overlook, and
I use my eyes and then I use my eye. You know what I'm saying? I'm always looking for something cool and unique. And I just think we'll have a really great time. And I also want to film that little hut thing back there. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe like a pump house because it's right next, like, burned down brick and like it's all disheveled. I immediately, when I touched it, and I New Jersey is one of the original 13 colonies. There's a lot of history here. When I touched it, I immediately started seeing images of women being burned at the stake.
Oh shit.
that women were burned there, but it does mean that there's some kind of correlation between that brick hut and witchcraft. That's what I interpreted that as. So I would love to go there and just see what it is and see what it's all about. If it was a pump house, there would be some kind of pump in it or something in the ground, and there's just nothing there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's
Well, first of all,
very often I find things out in the middle of nowhere that like I just don't understand why they're there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, it would be nice to have, you know, like somebody who could do that. Like I can't just touch something and be like, oh, look at that. You know what I mean? Like
sometimes it's a curse. It is a curse sometimes. I know you wanted to say something, but give me 1 second.
Either I get Sasquatch help or I'm like, you know, blind. So.
Hey, but that's cool though. Like honestly, I didn't come into my abilities until like 2 years ago. I tried so hard to shut out the dead because it just was not working for me. Walking up to random people and being like, you know, your grandfather's with you. And I got hit because of it. I got spit at. Because there's so many scams on TV, people automatically think like I wasn't asking them for anything. But they think that that's what's coming next, right? Being a medium isn't easy. And it's why I stay in my house most of the time. But I have a hard time in thrift stores. I'll touch some random piece of jewelry and I'll see like somebody was murdered while wearing it. And I'm like, and I'm like freaking out in the thrift store. So it's a blessing and a curse. And until I learned how to, turn it on and turn it off as necessary, it really was very hard. I see some new names. Thank you guys, everyone who's new. Obviously for coming in and checking us out. Robert Haywood Jr., what's up, Cuzzo, and Ghost Dragons. I'm sorry, what were you going to say before I rudely interrupted you as always?
I'm used to it. Totally used to it. You're the only one who can get away with it. So anyways, no, I was going to go backtrack here. I like wandering off the path. I'm one of those guys that naturally find his ways back. We go to parks. I'm never on the trail. I immediately run off the path because that's where the good stuff's at. You can't see nothing on the path. You got to go look. So I immediately always go off the path. And I've gotten lost, but I don't get scared. I just follow my instincts, and usually I end up back where I belong. It may take me a while, and I have fun on the way. But as for you leaving your truck there, you're not afraid of somebody towing it. You're afraid Bigfoot's going to get in it and go for a joyride, aren't you?
I'm actually just waiting for that. I'm just waiting for those days.
Or a dragon sitting in the back of the truck going, where are we going?
I came across an encounter when I was researching for my ghostwriting project, and these people said that they were in their RV in the woods and they were camping, and they were like really scared because I don't want to use the word redneck, but that's the word they used. Like these locals to the area where they would drive up in their pickup trucks next to the RV in the middle of nowhere, and they were drinking and throwing cans at the RV and shooting guns off, and they were scared. And one of the drunk locals tried to kick the door of the RV in, and all of a sudden, like the husband was trying to drive out of there, but they were like spinning in the mud. All of a sudden, their vehicle lifted up in the back and just went like pushed. And he went, and they got out of there. And he's like, what the heck was that? So he got out and went back and looked, and there were these gigantic, muddy handprints that he believes were a Sasquatch that was just helping them. And in order for that to happen, they have to have cloaking.
Well, yeah. And, it's, either that or it's just like right there in the other dimension, however you want to look at it.
Interdimensional. And the reason I believe they're interdimensional is because they're always blurry. We can't get any evidence of them. And people are like, they're there 1 minute and gone the next. Plus, people have said they've seen Bigfoot, like mainly by water sources, like clamming or whatever they're doing. Mm-hmm. And then they'll be like, look to their friend and be like, do you see that? And then when they look back, the Bigfoot's completely gone, but it's not gone. Like they can sense that it's still there.
Yeah. But I've been trying. Yeah, I've been trying to teach people about this because they want me to teach people about it. But like the water is is a place where a lot of us get calm. A lot of us connect better to nature. Like, so like a lot of these people are seeing them near water because they're in a relaxed state. They're in a good vibration. They're in a good frequency. And like and then especially when they're in it, like that's why I tell, I'm trying to give like a little cheat sheets. I'm like, put your hand in there, just hold it there for a while. Like let the running water go past it and see what you hear, see what you see. You know what I mean? Not everybody can get in it, but like I get in it. Like I get in that shit. And I'm like, I embrace it.
Your energy.
Yeah.
You just have it in your energy, which is why like the deer follows you around.
Well, right, yeah. I practice with them. Like I practice with them. Like,
what were you saying, honey?
Oh no, I was just saying the other night when I was out and about in the middle of the night, I actually went and sat at the creek. We have a creek by me that's behind us. A creek. Hey, I can't help it. I'm from Ohio. Anyways, we were I went down there. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, after I paced the cemetery for about an hour. And I sat down by the creek and I'm sitting there just, in the dark with my flashlight. First thing that comes up to me is a raccoon, and he literally sat down beside me, just sat there.
That's awesome.
And I was, having a day, and he finally got up and went in the water in front of me and started looking for crawdads. Couldn't find any, so he worked his way downstream. So I'm sitting there by myself again. Next thing I know, 2 does come up and sit on the other side, lay down on the other side of the creek, and just laid there. And it was like all of a sudden, I knew I wasn't alone.
They're like Snow White.
And then 2 more came and laid down beside them. I had 4 does laying there and a baby and a fawn, all laying there across the creek, just watching me, sitting with me. The fawn would get up every so often, take a drink, and then lay back down next to mommy. And it was weird, but
that's so cute.
I get out of my car here at the house, and there are literally deer standing in my front yard, and they look at me like,
you have good spiritual energy, and you're vibrating just a little bit higher than other people, which you both are. And that's kind of what I see when I look at people is like where they're vibrating at. I know if I want to mess with them or not. It is, everyone thinks animals, well, not everyone, a lot of people who aren't in this field, I guess you would say, think animals are, so different from us. And it's not that animals are so incredibly different. They're not like dumb or anything. It's just they vibrate so much higher than we do, that they'll immediately see and connect to someone who's vibrating at the same frequency as they are. There's also there's this other site, I forget what it was called, where those people found that body. It's a site and it tells you like cool things around your house. Randonautica. I downloaded it just to see what was near my house, and I was like, a scary place. I put in, I wanted to find a scary place, and it points to these woods back here, and it says enchanted forest. It said on Randonautica that it was an enchanted forest. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. She said, we say crick here in Ohio, and pop too. No, pop. I can deal with crick because the Pennsylvanians. But
what the hell's a crawdad? Is that a crayfish?
Yeah, crayfish. Crawdad is a crayfish here.
Finally, right. Mike, somebody who understands.
I don't know. I just found out. So I was in the middle of a live stream in the woods, and somebody was like, "Oh, something about I gotta do some bush hogging or something." I'm like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "Whoa!" And I'm thinking like this is like, you're riding pigs through the bush or something. You know what I mean? Like, we're going bush hogging. Like we're gonna ride some hogs, and I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just mowing the lawn, apparently. I'm like, I wonder
if I was there. I wonder if that was the night I was there, because I remember somebody using that term for mowing the lawn. And I remember thinking, that's weird. That sounded like definitely like something that it's not.
So lopsided. Like I felt so alone. Like everybody knew what it was. Well, I was just like, all right. Is what it is.
Life with Bobby says, I remember when I was 15 and was on a school trip and we were in the woods and I had a deer stop right in front of me and I could have touched it. I did talk to it, LOL. Yeah, and it's okay. You know, if you saw when Mike went through the woods, when that deer was leading you through the woods, and you were talking to her like a normal, you were talking to her like you would speak to a child. And I think that's the best bet. Like, you don't want to be rough with them. And I know in like all my stories that I write, I'll see like, because I write like real people's encounters down, but I change them a little bit and I have to do a lot of research for my job. So I will come across like all the time. I see people saying, I knew that I saw the Bigfoot and it was pounding on its chest. And I knew that if I ran, I was done for. Or, I saw the deer and I talked to it and it led me, you know, out of the woods, or whatever the case may be. We have to understand, you know, when I accidentally channeled that Bigfoot, it wasn't like a normal channeling like I do here on Wednesday nights when I do the live oracle. I bring the teams in. Everyone is in my room. So spirit that's already been with me, that I'm hanging out with for the week. Usually like a week or two, I'll have a couple spirits that I'm just with all the time and I just hang out with them. Then there are the uninviteds that come in from the woods that I haven't had a chance to get rid of yet because they know I'm doing something. So they kind of like get that off, like, oh, I can hang out for a little bit. And then I have the spirit teams that I call in, and then the deceased loved ones of the people. So there's a lot going on in my bedroom on Wednesday nights. When I channeled that Bigfoot, I was lost. When I was geocaching, that's when it happened. I sat on a log once I finally realized the direction I had to go in. I was only one straight path away from my road, but it was like 45 minutes away, and I had been going the wrong way. I had been out there for 7 hours. I was so tired. I had never been in the woods before. So I was scared and I was tired. It was starting to rain. My phone battery was dying. It was getting dark, right? And there are bears out there and coyotes. So I just sat down for a minute to catch my breath and kind of regroup, and I was taking deep breaths. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like I was here in the moment where I know what I'm seeing with my third eye and I know what I'm seeing with my real human eyes, right? It was something so completely different. All of a sudden, I was like cocooned in this bright white light. I couldn't see anything around me at all. But it wasn't like blinding. It didn't hurt. It was just, I was warm and fuzzy and comforted and cocooned in this light. And for about 20 minutes, I just received a whole bunch of downloads. And the main thing I took from it, how I knew it was real in my own head. I mean, I knew it was happening to me, but sometimes I think I'm going a little nuts with the things that I see. And I didn't believe in Bigfoot at the time. And I didn't give two rats' tails about cryptids. It just wasn't in my periphery. I didn't know anyone really who was into cryptids. So to me, it was like, whatever. And maybe that's why they chose me. It was telling me that, you know, it's not that they despise humans, and it's not that they don't want us to know they exist because they just don't want to. It's because they know that if they leave one of their dead behind, if they leave their poop behind, they bury their poop, by the way, which is why we don't normally, or really don't ever see it. And if you do, it's kind of like, oh, well, that could be a bear's, and you just don't know. They bury their poop. They bring their dead either through portals, and I do believe there are different Sasquatch. This is what I came to understand. There's the Sasquatch that do live underground, and they do have these communities so far deep underground that, like, we're not looking for them, therefore we're not going to find them, and they're in out-of-the-way places. But mainly they come from the 7th and the 9th dimension, which is the same dimensions that the fairies come from, but Sasquatch are not fairies. It's just like all different races of people that live here on Earth. That doesn't mean we're not all the same. It's just we cohabitate the Earth. So I called him he, but it was saying to me, and it was a female, gentle female voice, but I knew that the entity was how we would perceive a male, which really blew my mind. It was like all inclusive, because the energy was so soft and feminine that the voice that I was hearing was a feminine voice, even though it was a male creature. So anyway, it was basically saying that if they know just one of them gets caught, it's probably, if it's not killed on sight, going to be studied and held captive and, you know, tortured and poked and prodded. And they like to bring their young here because of the atmosphere. They like the way our trees, they like the way the air smells, and they like, because it's much, I can never remember if it's denser or less dense, the higher up you go, but either way, they like the density of our third dimension. But the thing is, they have families just like we do, and their partners would be devastated just like we would be if our partner were murdered, right? What if we kill one of the Bigfoot and they're here with their young? Those two young, they don't learn how to go cross back and forth until they're a certain age. So then they're stuck here. There was a woman I was reading about that said she helped, I don't know how true this is, but she had this big story about how she helped kind of raise a baby Sasquatch because something must have happened to its parent, and it kept coming up to her slowly each and every day out of the woods. And she said she didn't panic and she didn't make any threatening gestures, but she started leaving little bits of food, and she'd leave it a little further on, and then it would just come and sit with her, and it would chortle in order to speak, and it would point, and it was just like having a tiny little child. But she didn't keep it, and the thing trusted her that she wasn't going to keep it in her basement or try to sell it, for millions of dollars. She taught it to be distrustful of humans. And so they're a lot like us, the way their societies are structured, but they don't believe in violence, and they don't believe in, now there are the Bigfoot that they will attack, but it's very rare. And I didn't get this from the Bigfoot. This is just something I think I've put together through all my research, and I could definitely be wrong. I notice when I'm reading encounters of Bigfoot that have attacked humans or that get very, very aggressive and scary, 9 times out of 10, they have black hair. It seems the ones with black hair, in my opinion, from what I've researched, are much more aggressive than the brown ones.
It's possible. Now, here's the thing too. I always I use the word attacked. I use it. I think it's thrown around a little loosely because all these attack stories are told by people. So, I mean, attack to me means hands on. You scrapped, and if you scrapped, you were not telling the story.
Not hit with a pebble.
Yeah, right. So right. Yeah. So I always say it you could have 3 different people stand there, and that rock comes in, and they all got a different story because it's perception. One says they were attacked. One was like, that shit was cool, and one was like, oh, throw it back. You know what I mean? Everybody's, right. And it's important to listen to it all, but it's important to take it and also dissect it because, I had issues with some cryptids, and I attacked? I was harassed. I was, scared shitless, right? Bluff charged, whatever, but I wasn't, physically attacked. You know what I mean? So
right.
I try to be very clear about it.
See, now I've been physically attacked by spirits.
Yeah, but that's different.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, but
I have 2.
But I've also been aggressively approached by cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what Mike's saying is that you can be aggressively approached because they're protective of their territory, they're territorial, and they're aggressive when they feel like their territory has been encroached upon. If there's young around, wouldn't you protect your kids and become aggressive if somebody was getting too close? I know I would. And
I think the ones the ones that are here are very tolerant of us. But again, there's some that go deep into the Pine Barrens and get away from us because my understanding is something poisoned them. The young drank some, are horrible, disgusting stuff that we just leave around, and some of them go back and set back and they do not want to be involved with us. They're whatever, you know what I mean?
There are so many people out there with guns all the time.
Yeah, well, right. That's why I go with nothing. You know what I mean? And people tell me I'm crazy. If you were being hunted,
would you go?
Well, people tell me all the time. They're like, "Oh, you're crazy. You shouldn't go out there unarmed." And I'm like, I have to.
I don't think so.
I have to. There's a trust there, and I understand why people don't understand it. I get it.
Right.
I had a job where I walked around with a gun, and like where I wouldn't have done it. You know, I wouldn't have done that job without a gun. I do this one without one. Like it's just what I feel is necessary to maintain what I have going on. You know,
you understand that those are the parameters that you're working with. Paradox Fossil says, I think they also been shot at, made them weary. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. We've been so aggressive towards them. We've been, you know, I mean human beings, not us personally. So, you know, to be honest with you, I don't blame you. And I don't think it's a bad move. You know, if you're thinking about other predatory animals, then yes, it's dangerous. But if you're out there making a connection with the Sasquatch, I don't believe the Sasquatch is going to let a predatory animal get close enough to you to hurt you. To be honest with you, if you're out there unarmed to make a connection with it, I don't think anything else, because usually when they're around, there's nothing else around anyway, because all the other animals know that it's, you know, a Sasquatch is in the area. They are apex predators.
You know, you brought up Sasquatch or Bigfoot living in caves and under the ground. You know, there are legends and stuff according to the Hollow Earth theory that they are part of the population in the Hollow Earth theory. And, you know,
I think so.
And it's very likely that, you know, when they disappear like they do, not all of them, because I believe they, you know, they cloak and stuff like that. I believe they're very supernatural beings, just like a lot of the other things out there.
You know, some of us are very gifted, and some of us, you know, some people are very, like, you know, on those levels of, like, you know, like telepathy and psychic and things to that effect, right? But most of us aren't. And I think humans are the only things on the outskirts. You know what I mean? Like, we're the only things that are not, you know, involved with, you know, the understanding of this greater picture, this big picture. I think we're the only ones that are out here. You know?
Oh, yeah. Well,
and it's by design, you know what I mean? By our own, you know, whoever came before us, and it trickles down, shit, you know, shit rolls downhill. I apologize, but you know what I mean? So we get what we get.
Yes, I
agree. I'm so sorry about the Wi-Fi. Like I said, tomorrow it'll be fixed because I have the Ethernet cable. So I'm so sorry. It's so much, but that Sasquatch wants to kill you, they would have. Point blank, period. And I'm not saying that there's never been a Bigfoot in the history of the earth that's ever, like, that it's never been. But I would question what the person who was killed by one was doing. Because normally they'll aggressively try to scare you off, which is what the rock throwing and the pounding on the chest in the trees, I believe, is all about. There were these men back in the 70s. They have a documentary about it. I can't remember where, though. They actually made this hut inside of I believe it was a redwood tree. So, you know, they're super big. They hollowed it out. And they made this room inside of the tree, which I thought was just so cool. But the reason they did this is because back in the 70s, not too many people really knew about Bigfoot. And if they knew about it, they didn't talk about it that much. And these guys were hunters. They would go to the same spot every year, and they wouldn't say what spot they were at because they didn't want it to be overrun with people hunting Bigfoot. But they got these noises on tape on an audio recorder and they locked themselves and barricaded themselves. Because at the time, Bigfoot didn't even occur to them. They thought that there was something evil or really scary or possibly demonic out there in the woods. But if you listen to it nowadays, knowing what we know, it was Bigfoot. It was several Bigfoot communicating with one another, and these men just happened to be in the middle of it.
I wonder
they will try to scare you off.
I wonder if you're talking about the Sierra Sounds, Ron Moorhead, but I don't think he was.
Yeah. I'm going to find it, and I will let you know exactly what it is, because I just watched it. I just can't remember.
It was Sierra, yeah, like, I think, I wonder if that's where it was. Sierra Mountain. There could very well be redwoods. It sounds very similar. I mean, he started in the 70s. He's been at it for like 50 years. He's, you know, he's a legend. The guy's
still at it.
Yeah,
he's
what it is
now. And you guys got to remember too, like, I just came into the cryptid community with the channeling of the Sasquatch 3.5 years ago. Like I said, I had no interest because I was just starting to get a handle on my own ability and the demonic and everything else that was going on with me, that it wasn't even in my periphery until that day where that happened to me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm in this community now. I'm so accepted by like the Bigfoot community on YouTube as well. And that's so important too, because we go to the supernatural puzzle. And if we keep distinguishing ourselves, like, okay, I'm a medium and you communicate with Bigfoot, and Steven, you're an observer. If we get together, like, we could probably make connections that maybe have never been made before, instead of keeping ourselves so separate and distinct and being like, no, you're a Bigfoot person. You can't talk to me because you're a medium.
No, I'll travel across the world if I could change one person's like opinion or help one I don't care. Like, I go to extreme lengths. Like, I don't give a shit. People are always like, oh, I'm only busy, I'm not bothering you. Like, I will wear myself thin, like you know, to just be there for somebody, because, you know, like, it's tough. Like, this shit is tough. Like, my initial reaction to where I am now, way different. Like, way different. But I try to keep in mind how scared I was, and there was nothing threatening. There was nothing threatening. It was just sheer like shit. Like, go, and it was fight or flight. But I was like down. I went down, like, and just, you know.
You know what's so crazy about that? It's right, so right, because it's like, when you don't know something, and this is what I tell people, everyone is born with the same gifts and abilities. It's just where yours are stronger and what's not conditioned out of you as you grow older. We are so indoctrinated, and I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but we are indoctrinated to fear these things and to not believe. So when I was younger, I was picked on a lot because ghosts aren't real and there are no monsters under your bed. But meanwhile, there were demons under my bed and in my room, and ghosts are real because I'm a medium and I was seeing them. So it was being conditioned out of me. But fortunately for me, and I do look at it as a blessing now, it just didn't work. But 98% of society or more, it does work. And when they're, you know, eventually they stop seeing the monster, and, you know, good for them, good on them. But I'm glad that I never did. And I think it's the same thing with Bigfoot. We are conditioned to fear that which we're not familiar with. But I'll tell you guys something. I'm 40 years old. In my lifetime, I don't believe we will see anyone actually as a society and as a race of humans. We are not ready for it yet. We are not nowhere near collectively spiritually aligned for them to even,
not even
want
close
to come near us.
I was just talking about that today. Like, I hold so much back because it's hard. Like, it's hard to be ahead of the pack with so much stuff. And like, I mean, there's some things that like I've been sitting on saying for like a couple of years now, and like, there's very few people that understand where I'm coming from, because, and I'm not trying to, like, you know, act like I'm like better or nothing. I'm just saying, like, it's like I just see where the majority sits and where they get stuck.
Well, you're more enlightened. I mean, most of us here are. It doesn't mean you're better than anyone.
I put in a lot of time too, like a lot of time. You know what I mean? Like people would be like, "Oh, what do you think they do in the winter?" And and I don't know. Like, I don't know yet. I'm gonna go out there every day in the winter for a couple of years, and I'll let you know. You know what I mean? Like,
or they break out their bobsleds and go bobsledding, and then every so often they go dragon hunting.
I believe they go underground. And I'm starting, guys, to be honest with you, and I haven't even brought this to the community yet, but I'm starting to come across information, speaking of dragons, that dragons, I already know this about unicorns, but dragons are actually just another extinct creature. And I'm not even sure that they're really extinct, in that they're like, again, they're interdimensional. They're interdimensional now. Whereas like a unicorn, what I'm seeing is, like, if I read, and I read a lot, I am such a book nerd. I always have been. I'm reading these explorers from the 14th, 15th century. All of their writings have been translated into English, and I'm reading them. And I keep seeing over and over and over again these explorers in areas where humans allegedly had never been before, specifically Persia and some areas
China's
over.
real big too for dragon sightings, still to this day.
Well, I wasn't. Yeah, dragons too, but unicorns constantly. He always thinks he's going to finish my sentence, and he's never.
I wasn't trying to. I was just
my mind goes so many different ways. I don't think anyone could ever understand what I'm saying like immediately. But dragons definitely, I believe now they exist. But these explorers over and over again have described unicorns and Bigfoot. Over and over, centuries and centuries ago, they were describing this. And then I did a story once in one of my pre-recorded videos about the guy who alleges he was kidnapped by Bigfoot. And I believe him. I believe that he was, just from the way he explained it and the way he explained where he was taken and what happened to him. The kid wanted to play with his snuff boxes, and this happened in like the 20s or the 30s. And they didn't hurt him in any way, and they fed him. They fed him like leaves and, basically a vegetarian diet, someone who lives in the woods. But, he wanted to go home. And he said the father, Bigfoot, was so big and hulking and scary that he didn't dare make a move. And what he did was he eventually gave the father an entire thing of snuff. And when the father, Bigfoot, turned around and started vomiting, that's when he made his move to run. And the female came running after him. But when he turned around and fired near her, he wasn't firing at her, but he wanted to see if it would scare her. She was afraid of the gun, and she turned and ran. I believe it. I believe that they took him. For what reason, I don't know. Maybe he was too close to where they were staying, or maybe they were just curious. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many different variables. Like, that's why I like, I like better when the person comes on and talks about it. I get why people don't, but there's so many like stories out there where it's like just like, an automated voice, or like, just speaking somebody's story, and I'm like I want to see them, like, I want to like see their mannerisms, like, you know what I mean? Because when people talk, like, at least where we come from, they get a little animated, right? Like,
yeah.
I like to see, the hands moving and what's really going on,
Yeah, but you don't know. Like, what if they are different by region? What if the Bigfoots here are like, more animated than the ones in like Louisiana, where everything's more laid back? You don't know. They're so different just as a species too. They're not all the same. They all look very similar. But if you look at people who have seen Bigfoot or who have said they've seen Bigfoot up close and personal, across the board, the face of Bigfoot looks like how we humans always draw Neanderthal man. And there were several people that I came across that said they were going to shoot a Bigfoot. They saw one, they had it in their sights. First of all, I don't think they would have been able to, but they said that they were going to shoot it. But when the Bigfoot looked at them, it had such humanity in its eyes that they felt like they would have been committing murder, and they lowered their gun. Now,
see,
I think that's
kind of like, like I always thought it was kind of bullshit too, right? But so, like, here's the part I thought was bullshit. They know I'm coming before I even know I'm going. They know I'm coming. You know what I mean? Forget about when I step in there. Like people, I always hear people like, "Oh, I'm gonna be all stealthy and this and that." I'm like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, he smelt you when you stepped out of the house. And like, so I'm like, I that's the way I always perceive it. Like, they're so ahead of us and like in their own domain that it's like impossible to do. But I have a friend.
They're more spiritually elevated.
Well, right, but I have a friend in Mississippi, and like this, and like I trust his word. And he said he was up in a deer stand all day long, and this, Sasquatch wasn't on his radar, but it walked right in front of him, and like sat down, and it didn't know he was there. It was like playing in the dirt, you know what I mean? Like, and he eventually, he had it in his scope. He could have shot it a couple of times, he said. Looking back, he didn't, because I guess it, like you said, it looked very human. And like, again, looking back, he's like, I'm glad I didn't, because I probably would have got,
I also think it could be compulsion. I think that Bigfoot definitely have the ability to compel. They have the ability to channel information into our brain. So why not the ability to compel? I just recently, a few weeks ago, covered a couple who ran into Bigfoot and they were terrified. And the same thing that happened to me, a female voice came out of this giant, somewhat obviously male Bigfoot creature, but that's because the feminine energy is the softer energy. And believe it or not, they are a softer being than humans. And it was speaking to them telepathically and saying the guy was digging in his pocket to get his camera out. And the Bigfoot told him, don't do that. And he was still digging. He was reading his mind. And it started taking steps closer to him. And then its face went from one of just like nothing to like something like, I will F you up. And the guy said, I finally stopped digging. And it took a step back. And it said, I will only see you one more time. Be on your way. And took off in the woods. And they said they don't know what it meant by that because they never saw one again. But they might have if they had gone back to that spot.
I think they reach us like how we need to be reached. Like maybe in that moment when you were lost and you were like, you know, you were scared, if that Sasquatch had come to you with like a deep male voice, maybe that would have frightened you. Maybe it came to you with what it thought it needed to do, and that's just what it projected. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just a thought.
Especially with me too. So number one, like I said, the feminine energy is the softer energy. So even a male has feminine energy and a female has masculine energy. The feminine is the softer. It's the moon energy. So when something vibrates, I call it at the feminine level or the masculine level, it's not really higher or lower. It's just softer or harder. So I do think that they're softer beings, and our minds hear that, or our ears hear that as a female voice. They probably all sound like that, maybe, or I don't know. But I also know that day, thank you, Lara, my train of thought derailed again. That day I had dealt with a lot of really scary stuff in those woods because of my being a medium. So there were a lot of really dark spirits back there, and there were a lot of murder victims back there, and there were a lot of really bad and terrifying things. And I was only just starting to work with my abilities again without drugs. And I was scared and frustrated, and I was terrified.
It's like being the new kid it's like being the new kid in school. It's like everybody's looking at you and like, you know what I mean? Like, and you're also like, when you're vibrating like that, and you probably have like a certain aura around you, and like you know, you probably come in looking like a freaking, you know, human orb, and like everything's probably like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean?
And
like,
that's what it is. That's true. That's exactly true.
Like,
that's
what's that on the human trail?
I
like, and that's
yeah. In the grocery store, even, it's like, why me? Well, I know why me, and it's because with the way my energy is, they know that I can see them. You know, I'm trying not to make eye contact, but I give it away. I'm like a glow stick. I say it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I would say it's like an attraction. You know, like yeah, that's the best way to put it. We don't need to overkill it. You're right.
Vibrating. Is that why when mosquitoes bite me, they'd fly away like this?
Yes.
What they do?
They fly away like this.
Yesterday, when I was doing your reading, I was doing his reading going like this. And I'm like, just so you know, I have a mosquito bite, and I scratched it with my nails. I'm like, and now I can't stop scratching it. So I'm doing his reading, and I'm going like this the whole time. And I thought, I should explain myself because it looked a little weird. Hey, Patty, what's up, girl?
I can't stay still anyways. It's so hard for me to like sit still for like an hour and do a show. Like, I always see people and they sit so poised, and I look back at like when I'm doing a show and I'm like,
I can't do it.
Don't you see me doing Oracle? Look at me doing Oracle. There was one night I was so bad. I was having tremors so bad. I had forgotten to take my medicine. And Chris was the only one I think noticed. And I didn't think I was doing too bad until I went back and looked at it. And I'm doing this. Yep. I'm doing this. And I'm like, holy crap. You know, I didn't even know.
I move a lot too, but it's usually my feet go from like one space. And you'll see in my pre-recorded videos, I'll try to stop using my hands for like a minute. And then you'll see me going like this with my hands because I can't stop waiting. So you'll see me like this. And then I realize what I'm doing. So I'm back to this. I try. It's just, I don't know. It's just the energy. You look like
the
Kermit the Frog waving your hands around.
The no-look shuffle always impresses me. You know, you're looking away somewhere, and I'm like, holy.
That's practice, bro. It's practice.
Yeah, but there's the cards are so, I don't know, like they're so big sometimes. I'm like, yeah, it's cool.
The decks, it's that one deck. It's got like 76 giant cards, and you'll see me on Wednesday nights. I'm like, ugh. It's the only deck I have trouble with, though. Speaking of which, guys, I have 2 new decks for Wednesday night, for tomorrow night, so I'm really excited about that. And then Thursday we'll have hopefully Miss Pixie, because I am doing RJ's kindergarten orientation on Thursday afternoon, and I've got to catch up on my work. So we're gonna end it here. Mike, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. It was definitely a blast. And I'll talk to you later. And thanks for the donation, and love you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Always a good time. Yes, Gemma, Ghost, and Mike. This was fun. We've got to have guests on more often. We're not doing afternoon talk for the next 2 weeks, guys. Next week, I'll be at my mom's, kind of just on a vacation, letting my son get a break before school starts, because he went to camp all summer, like day camp all day, so I could work. And then the week after that is his first day of kindergarten. And then I also have my monthly doctor that day on a Tuesday, because Monday's the Labor Day. So that's the 5th. But the week after that, as of right now, we're going to have Christopher Guerra. So Total Guerra. He's coming on. And the reason I asked him to come on is because he's a non-believer. So he doesn't believe in cryptids. He doesn't believe in UFOs or extraterrestrials. And he only kind of believes in spirit. Or at least that spirit can come back. But he's not like a jerk about it, right? He's not like, you'll never convince me. He just wants facts and evidence, evidentiary proof, which is hard to have in this community. But I was thinking maybe we could change his mind. Black Dragon, it was so good to see you. Please keep coming back. All of the new people, thanks for coming in. Don't forget, tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time, we are going to be doing live intuitive oracle until around 11. So if you don't know what that is or want to know what it's about, come on in and get a random 1-card pull. I'll tell you what your next week or two is going to be like from one of my 200 decks that I have here. I channel directly from Source and your spirit team. So all good to go. I don't know why he just left, but okay. I don't know what Monday's video is yet. I'm writing that script today, but I'll keep you guys informed as soon as I do know. Love you guys so much, and thank you for spending an hour with me and Ghost Dragons and Big Mike, Long Island Bigfoot Big Mike. Hydrate. Yeah, it's really hot out there. I don't plan on stepping outside my door unless it's just to grab my Amazon packages. But for the rest of y'all, hydrate. Yes, thank you, Pixie. Give a like, leave a comment after the show. I'm just thinking of what short to do today. Hopefully it gets as many views as the one yesterday. But guys, when you watch those, please make sure you like them too. 456 views in 7 hours, a major, major record breaker for me, but only 21 likes. So while it helps, it kind of doesn't, because then it looks like nobody liked the video that they watched. And, you know, it is what it is. All right, guys, be kind to each other. Bye-bye.